Hey everybody, welcome back to social media, the YouTube channel where we talk all things horror and nothing but horror. How is everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. And today, guys, I will be doing today, guys, there will be a video. This is actually recorded afterwards because the video that you're about to watch is actually a segment from our podcast, Slashercast, and it is a segment of us talking about the horror movie Brightburn, which is basically if Superman was evil and murderous and also a kid. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're talking about that. It's a segment from the podcast, so if it looks like the podcast, then that's why. So I will be joined by my co-host Azteral for that. So I hope everybody will enjoy, and I'll see you at the end. So basically, the film starts off with the Breyer parents, the mum and dad. It starts off with them two, getting it on. They're trying for a kid. So they're trying for a kid, and they're not having much luck as they're trying for a child. And what happens is, I believe the mother hears something. They end up hearing something outside, which is a spaceship. When they're in the thing. So during getting it on, the mother starts to feel the house shake, and she doesn't know what it is. And when she looks outside and sees a glowing red light outside, and when she goes out there, obviously, I think when she goes out there, but it doesn't show us going out of there, her going out. It cuts to clips of Brandon when he was younger. So him growing up, him as a baby, him playing with toys and stuff like that. So then we get time skip to when he's about 10 or so, and he's got to get ready for school, and his mum is trying to find him, and that, but she finds him in the barn area that he's not allowed in, because it's where they actually hid his ship. So he's not allowed in there. He goes to school, and obviously his teacher asks him about these bugs and stuff like that. Let me find out what he says. Right. The bug line. So basically, he's in school and he's talking to the teacher. I think they're talking about bugs or something, and she basically tells him about colonies of bugs, and they take over places. This girl, Caitlin, turns around in a chair, calls him cool, that it's cool and that he's smart, stuff like that, or whatever she says, and he smiles, even though this jackass behind him is laughing his ass off. Brandon later on is in bed when he starts to convulse and stuff, and ends up jumping out of his bedroom window to go to the barn. And as he's in the barn, he's trying to get into this cellar, where obviously a ship is. Someone's calling to him. His mother wakes him up, worried obviously that he's going to find out who he is. His abilities start to manifest because he ends up basically ends up mowing the lawn, and as he's mowing the lawn, he puts his hand in the fucking lawnmower. Oh, actually, no. First off, before he does that, as he's pulling the cord on the lawnmower, for some reason it's got a fucking plug thing on it. Like Superman, he throws it really far in the air. Seen a lot of Superman elements in this already, aren't you? Is my camera being weird?
That is sort of the entire premise of Brightburn, is that he's effectively Dark Superman.
So basically what happens is later on, he walks up to the lawnmower afterwards. One second, So he goes and finds the lawnmower, and the blade or whatever it is on the bottom is still spinning, and he puts his finger in, and it ends up breaking the blade. So he's obviously seeing that he it's tough. So it's his birthday. Him and his family have gone out. He's with his, I think it's his auntie and her husband, and they're having their birthday. And because this is set in America, his uncle gets him a gift. And what is that gift? It is a rifle.
Got a gun.
It is a gun. He gets him a rifle as a present. And his dad won't let him keep it. He takes it away. And Brandon, because his powers are awakening, he goes to his dad angrily and says, "Give it me." And his dad's like, "No! Not letting you have it." So he ends up... so they end up leaving. And later on at breakfast, the next day at breakfast, Brandon is sat down eating breakfast. He's having some scrambled egg. And what happens is he ends up getting the fork, putting it in his mouth. His dad looks at him like curiously, and then ends up takes the fork out of his mouth and sees that he's now bent the prongs on the fork with his strength. Then his dad takes him out, like with a sniper or something or whatever, and into the woods and that. And I think that's when he tells him that he has abilities. I believe that's when he tells him that his dad, that Brandon is an alien.
Yeah, just the casual sort of every kid goes through it at one point. That thing where your dad walks up to you and goes, "You know what, son? You're from another world. Only this time it's literal and not metaphorical."
Oh wait, no. He tells basically Brandon didn't know he was adopted, and obviously his dad tells him he's adopted. Later on, he's Brandon. Wondering who he really is, Tori explained to Brandon about how they found him and how they raised him. Oh, it's not his dad who tells him. Later on, his parents led him out. He shared an angry glare with her. So basically, I think his dad tells him that he's adopted. He doesn't actually tell him he's got powers at that moment. Brandon, because he's a fucking creep, goes to that Caitlin's house, and it's not. The shot goes to Caitlin's house as she's in bed, and her laptop turns on, and she turns it off, and she's creeped out, until she looks out of the window. As her curtain moves, Brandon is stood right out of her window. Creep. Her mum walks in, so he leaves. Obviously, him and his parents have gone camping, though, as well. So they end up trying to find him, and they find him, and whatever. He is actually drawing something in his book at some point of a costume, and he ends up later on his dad is took Brandon's rifle out of the box and put it away. He finds Brandon looking at the trapdoor in the barn again when they hear something, get out of bed, and they go to the shed. All of the chickens are dead. Can't fucking make that up, can you? Brandon killed chickens.
Brandon killed chicken.
Next day at the school, Brandon is doing PE. He gets partnered up with Caitlin, but doesn't want to and she ends up calling him a creep, pushes him on the ground, and what does he do? She helps him up, and with his super strength, he crushes her arm. Yeah, that's a superhero. That's a superhero ready to come out of the woodwork. Obviously, they meet with the school and everything, and arguing that with Caitlin's mother. Brandon later on goes back to the barn again and ends up finding his spaceship because it gets cold, it's glowing. It does something to him. He falls down into it and actually hurts himself, which that tells us that it's basically his kryptonite. His only stuff from his planet can hurt him. So that's what happens there. That's when his mum tells him who he really is. Later on, he does get angry and ends up finding out he has fucking laser vision. He goes back to Caitlin's house and tells her that he's going to do something about what's happened. And this is when Brandon does his first kill of a human. He goes to the diner where Caitlin's mother works, and all over the windows are a BB, which people think either means Brandon Breyer or Brightburn. But I don't know. It's a symbol that people make. The windows smash. I don't like this bit. The woman gets glass in her eye, and I'm like fully in her eye. It's stabbed through, and she pulls it out. I don't know about you, Will, but I hate anything to do with eyes.
I threw up.
You threw it, did you?
I threw up. I hate anything to do with eyes.
Yeah, so like that happens, and the cool effect that I like is the fact that half of her eye is like normal, and then her other eye is like red, but red and distorted, and she ends up seeing someone over the side of her as she runs away and locks herself in the room in like freezer or something, but the door ends up being opened with Brandon's laser vision. She covers her eye that is bleeding and sees him stood there in his costume, and he ends up rushing to her, ending her life. Next day, obviously him and his parents are talking and that, saying he's okay and that, and the cops go to the crime scene and find the body and find the symbols on the windows, and they suspect Brandon. He ends up doing some counselling with his auntie, who I believe is actually works at his school. His dad is doing pool at the bar. We go to the auntie's house. Brandon shows up at his auntie's house to ask for her not to tell his parents something or not to send him away or something like that. And the auntie is like, go away and stuff like that, telling her husband what's going on. Brandon is seen in the background. Her husband's on the way home. Brandon, in costume, is found by his uncle, whatever, hidden in a corner of a ward, hidden in a closet. His uncle tries to take him home in the car, but obviously doesn't. Brandon leaves, and as the uncle is leaving in the car, Brandon shows up flying, tips the car over, and I've got to say this was the most brutal kill in the entire movie. When the uncle dies, he lets go of his mouth, his jaw fucking falls down.
Brutal.
Gotta say, the effects on that
Brightburn was The Boys before The Boys was cool.
really was. But it's like, Jesus, I couldn't imagine if. Do you imagine if they get the rights to have Brandon Breyer in The Boys?
That'd be crazy. Homelander wouldn't stand a chance.
He just shows up. He's like, are you my son? And then he ends up putting his finger somewhere on his uncle, getting some blood, and he writes the symbol, the BB, on the pavement of the road. After killing him, and then he ends up going back home, not wearing any clothes, by the way. His dad has a nightmare later on of the day that Brandon showed up, but the nightmare includes his mum with his wife holding Brandon with white eyes and black blood coming out of her, but then he wakes up. Next day, the auntie is in the hospital with Brandon's mother and father, and say that her husband's dead. And obviously, the father is still questioning if Brandon did it. Brandon's dad is really fucking angry and stuff like that, and doesn't want Brandon. He wants proof that Brandon did it. He finds the costume as well. The police are after him, and that the mother is still being very protective. The dad ends up taking Brandon out for some son and dad bonding to go hunting, for him to teach him to use the rifle. And like Will said, this is where the stupid thing happens. The police do show up at his house to tell the mother about what's happened, but she doesn't believe them until she finds wait, I don't think it happens yet. No, it doesn't. She still doesn't believe them, and that, but she's getting worried that Brandon may have done something. Back at the woods with the dad, the dad shoots something, and Brandon goes up to it and points the rifle at Brandon, shooting him. Intertwined with his mum finding a book of drawings, and then his dad shoots him in the head. Brandon ends up flying away, putting his costume on for some reason, just decides to put it on, and then proceeds to kill his dad by lasering him in the face. His mum now believes that Brandon has killed, and he phones up and is Brandon on the phone, basically telling him that should. And what happens later is the cops show up at the house as Brandon has gone through the house, breaking walls and shit, kills the cops. His mum does realise that she needs to get to the spaceship, because obviously pieces of that can kill him. She gets there, she brings him in for a hug, like convincing him everything's okay. She goes to stab him, but he stops her before she can, he flies up in the air with her as her face is bloody because she went through a lot of wood. He drops her from the highest of the high area. A plane comes over. It's not a plane. It's not that anymore. And the plane crashed because it went into Brandon. And Brandon is basically supposed to be the only survivor of the house. And it made it look like the mother died as the plane crashed on the house and same and that. It ends with him sat at a police ambulance with eating a cookie, looking all dirty, looking like he's not angry at all. And then credit scene, we see footage of news reports of someone flying through buildings. We see him going through buildings, writing the Brightburn symbol on the ground, and news reports of things going on and everything like that. We get our guy Rucker doing a YouTube channel where he talks about stuff, and he says Brightburn mystery exposed, and he's basically saying there are other mysteries going on out there of different superheroes or people with powers and stuff like that taking over. And yeah, that is Brightburn. William, what is your thoughts of Brightburn?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting conceptual thing. I mean, the evil Superman thing has been done to death at this point. You've got, Homelander, you've got Omni-Man, you've got Brightburn. So many different characters. You even got some evil versions of Superman. Ultraman, Injustice as Superman. So it's not necessarily an original concept by any means, but it was one of the first to do it. And I would say it's a fairly successful one, minus a few idiotic writing choices.
Yeah, the film didn't do as well as people hoped as it could have. If it did better, I feel like it would have ended up having a lot more. It could have been its own universe.
Yeah. But yeah, there's not really anything special, I would say, about it. It's definitely a decent film, but it's not really anything special.
Yeah, it's not. It's an interesting movie. Like, it has good concepts.
I wouldn't even classify it as horror. I still think it fits far more into the action side of things.
It is set out to be a horror. It is like a horror movie, but for some reason, it does come off more like an action movie with an evil villain. It
feels like watching The Boys, and The Boys would be classed as an action series.
Yeah. But like, I think it's to do with the fact that it's supposed to have like these horror undertones, the character and everything, but like it's just it doesn't do it very well. Like, I'm not scared at all. I don't get scared during that film. I just think the gore looks fucking insane. Like, I can feel the fear coming from the characters, but I just don't. It's just not coming from me as a watcher, which horror should do, but it just doesn't, and it's definitely something very strange. But it's a good film. It's just could have been better. Well,
yes.
Anything else?
I do not have anything else.
So yeah, I hope everybody did enjoy today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And remember, keep on slashing, keep watching horror, and I'll see you horror fans later. Bye for now.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Have you checked the children?
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?